Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 38th favorite dad in the family community, Papa West, Jacob West. And obviously, I started the stream correct. I didn't accidentally not change the to the TMG takes the field stuff while the live was happening. That's not something I would do. Come on, this is a professional show. But it is Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's Tuesday. Nothing cool happens on Tuesdays. But it is your weekly talk of college and the NFL. TMG takes the field. Starting off with college, of course, because my friend doesn't want to join me in college because he doesn't like, he's not in depth knowledge on college sports. I get it. But I just want to go over a couple things, kind of go over what the top 25 ranking is, talk about just a couple games that happened last week. We had new rankings drop on Sunday. Our new top 25, Texas is our number one seed after demolishing the University of Texas in San Antonio. Georgia did survive barely 13-12 against Kentucky, but they did drop down to number two. Ohio State, Alabama, and Ole Miss all stayed. Tennessee did move up. Missouri, again, surviving against Boston College, but dropping in the rankings there at number 7. Miami has jumped up to. Oregon stands still at number 9. Penn State is at number 10. USC at 11. Utah at 12. Kansas State at 13. Oklahoma State at 14. OU at 15. LSU at 16. Notre Dame at 17, Michigan at 18, Louisville at 19, Iowa State at 20, Clemson 21, Nebraska 22, Northern Illinois 23, Illinois 24, and Texas A&M taking that final spot at number 25. A lot of really fun matchups that happened last week. Game day was in South Carolina for LSU at South Carolina. 36-33 LSU getting the win. Very fun very fun game between the two of them. Missouri Boston College, Missouri won 27-21. Very close game. Oregon State, this was Civil War. Oregon has looked horrible the last couple of games. In fact, a lot of people are like, this Oregon team's not real. There's no way Oregon State doesn't win. Well, Oregon State didn't win. They were at home and they lost, and Oregon was starting to look like the Oregon team we thought that we would see. Again, I already talked about it. Georgia 13, Kentucky 12. Not gonna say that this is the last we hear of Carson Beck as the Heisman hopeful, because Kentucky always plays Georgia pretty strong. But definitely he did fall with that. And then Texas demolished the University of Texas in San Antonio. One really quick thing to talk about with this game, Quinn Ewers did leave in the second quarter with an injury. He was out the rest of the game. And Arch Manning destroyed. Went off not just throwing, running. Giving even Vince Young gave him some props. This was the most rushing yards from a Texas quarterback since Vince Young in the early 2000s. Quinn Ewers is likely to miss next week as well. Hopefully, I think they're going to give him like 2 weeks off before they take on Oklahoma in the Red River Showdown. So, a lot of fun matches happen. Let's talk about a couple this week. Friday night, we have Illinois traveling to Nebraska and 2 ranked teams in Big Ten play. And then on Saturday, we have Marshall playing Ohio State, North Carolina State taking on Clemson, Arkansas State taking on Iowa State, Kent State taking on Penn State. Another fun Big Ten rivalry, USC versus Michigan. Again, USC, Big Ten. This just doesn't sound right. UCLA is taking on LSU. Miami of Ohio is taking on Notre Dame. Georgia Tech is taking on Louisville. Buffalo is taking on Northern Illinois. Utah is taking on Oklahoma State. Vanderbilt's taking on Missouri. Miami is taking on South Florida. Tennessee is taking on Oklahoma. Bowling Green's taking on Texas A&M. Georgia Southern's taking on Ole Miss. The University of Louisiana Monroe is taking on Texas, and then Kansas State is taking on BYU. Those are the top 25 matchups this week. Again, one of the big ones, Texas cupcake game, but they are without their starting quarterback. That being said, Arch Manning is pretty much a starting quarterback, so I don't foresee that hindering them at all. But then some ranked matchups. Again, the Friday night game, Illinois taking on Nebraska. Dylan Raiola for Nebraska has been playing very well as a freshman, so definitely looking forward to that. USC Michigan. Apparently, Michigan's still ranked. They barely beat Arkansas State. I don't see them having any chance against USC. So they're both ranked, but barely. Um, Utah's taking on Oklahoma State. This is gonna be a really fun one to watch with Big 12 rivalries. The one thing that I'm worried about is Cam Rising. The Utah quarterback was injured 2 weeks ago, did not play last week. They played Utah State though, so again, it really did not matter. So do we see Cam Rising playing? If we do, I see Utah winning. If not, I see Oklahoma State winning. So that's going to be a very important play right there. And this is also huge ramifications for the Big 12 because winner's probably going to be the number one seed or the number one in the conference championship game. And then we also have Tennessee taking on Oklahoma in an SEC rivalry game. Oklahoma SEC. Again, it doesn't sound right, but this is college football now, where the conferences don't matter. You can be in the Atlantic Coast Conference and play in California. What are we doing, Stanford? I don't know. I don't make those rules. Obviously not because I'm somewhat intelligent. One more thing I did want to say regarding college football is the Pac-12 did announce over the weekend that they were going to have some more teams from the Mountain West. There's a lot of talks of the Mountain West joining the Pac-12 that fell through at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to find that article because I just remembered this like 3 minutes ago. That's not it. I remember a couple of teams. Like I know San Diego State, Colorado State are just a couple of the teams that are joining. So hopefully we will. Here we go. I found it. That's a video. I don't want to watch the video. So it looks like, Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise State, and Fresno State. So we should just call this the state conference because that's what it's looking like. Also, please change it from the Pac-12 to the Pac. However many number of teams are on there, that's something I've been having issues with the Pac-12, Pac-10 back when that was a thing. The Big 12 and Big 10. It's like let's get our numbers right, guys. But that's been all for college football. Now let's get on to the NFL. And I have my partner in crime, the man I'm going up against, Jake Tato. Tato, how's it going?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me back here. I'm enjoying doing this show weekly here. I mean, as far as my life goes, not bad though. But football, not a great week.
We had a very rough week last week. It was very much.
As did everyone. Like to not discredit us too much. I think the whole world had a rough week in the NFL predictions community.
Unless you bet all on underdogs. If you bet all on underdogs, then you had a great week. So Tato, just a little bit in my life. I am a very avid sports bettor, and I made like $6.
Attaboy.
$6 on college football. So good money in my eyes. Not a lot of money by any means. I almost lost all of the money that I made on the NFL. I think I was sitting at like 50 cents more than what I started with Sunday morning, just because of how little my bets actually hit. I had a couple of the no-brainer ones. So obviously the Chargers game, the Chargers Panthers. I bet a lot on that game. I had one not hit, but a lot of my other bets hit on that. But yeah, a lot of my bets did not hit this week. Tato and I were talking during the Sunday night game, and we were at what 6-8 in our overall rankings, and Tato was like, "I hope we get 69." We finished with a 9, but we finished this week at 7 wins, 9 losses. So I'm just gonna go over the week real quick. We're gonna kind of give our thoughts. All right, so we had our Thursday night game. Both of us were wrong on this one. The Buffalo Bills took care of business against the Miami Dolphins, 31-10. Josh Allen looked decent. James Cook was electric. I benched him in one of our leagues. I regretted that immediately, but that Buffalo Bills defense was definitely a huge highlight. And they were dominating for most of the game, up to the Tua injury, of course. If you have been paying any attention to NFL news, you know exactly what happened Thursday night. Tua turns the ball over, got a concussion, ended up having to sit out the rest of the game, is on the injured reserve, so he is going to miss 4 games at least. Don't know if he's going to miss any more than that. Don't know if he's going to step down. We know what he should do. Don't know if that's what's going to happen. But Tato, what are your thoughts on this game?
If the Miami Dolphins make the playoffs at all, Mike McDaniel's the coach of the year for the shit he's had to go through in these first 2 weeks alone, man. Big, huge fan of that guy for how he's handled himself in these situations. The kiss on the forehead, just magic. It's been gone over a lot in the by much bigger talking heads than ours.
Yes.
But yeah, just a magical moment. Shout out that guy. There's not a coach that I would want to play for more, I think, than a guy like that.
Yeah.
So on to the game, though. I kind of caught it spotty in and out. I had other things going on. But yeah, the Bills are definitely, like, I thought they were going to kind of fall off. I made the jokes on their receivers and stuff, but they don't need me to know their names to win games, apparently. And Josh Allen is great. I thought he was going to take not necessarily, I didn't think he was going to like regress and become terrible or anything, but he is balling out the way he can, and I was definitely wrong on that one so far. So we shall see if they keep proving me wrong or if they kind of fall into what my preseason prediction for them. But yeah, we'll see. I haven't even looked and made picks yet this week, so that's something I got to kind of get on real quick in the background here as we're going through this week.
Yeah,
you
should probably do that.
I probably should do that. I'm a professional.
Yes. You definitely had a bunch of notice about this. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Sunday games. First one, the Las Vegas Raiders traveled to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. Very fun, very close game. Minshew Mania is alive and well. He went 30 for 38, 276 yards, a touchdown. Did throw a pick. Lamar Jackson, 21 of 34, 247 yards, a touchdown, and interception. And then Derrick Henry balled out with 84 yards and a touchdown. But the Raiders ended the game with, basic math in my head, 13? Yeah, 13 unanswered points. Being able to come back from a 10-point deficit to get the win and then hold off Lamar Jackson at the very end of the game. Again, this was one we didn't see it coming. I think most of America didn't see this coming. Just the Raiders being the Raiders. Yes, the Raiders.
I love me some Chris Berman, dude. Yeah,
He's a good one, that's for sure.
yeah, love some Chris Berman. Love some John Gruden on YouTube, by the way. That like is a pairing made in heaven. Love Chucky on YouTube. Speaking of Raiders. Yeah, no one saw this one coming. I didn't see the game. I haven't even seen highlights of it really, so I don't know the full story. But I love some Minshew mania. I love a insanity. I love a player kicking above their level and enjoying it.
Yeah, this was definitely one that I caught. I caught towards the end. But definitely watched a little bit of the end. Kind of tried to follow on as much as I could. Just again, very electric, very exciting fourth quarter. Both teams were playing pretty dominant. Just the Raiders were able to pull it out. Next, a game that I didn't watch any of because why would I? The Cleveland Browns traveling to Jacksonville beat the Jaguars 18-13. This was a very defensive game. Deshaun Watson had a 1 yard touchdown run, and then every other score was a field goal, except until a minute left in the third quarter. Travis Etienne did score a touchdown, but just to prove how tough that Browns defense is, they did practically end the game, sacking Trevor Lawrence, getting a safety. So a very defensive struggle, only 2 touchdowns, and that's the. I didn't watch any of this game. I didn't really follow much of this game either. Tato, any other thoughts on this one?
Not a ton. They do want to like it goes kind of to that preseason thing I was talking about last week, where these first few weeks are kind of starting off slow. I saw a statistic that said like the amount of total touchdowns thrown in the first 2 weeks has gone from like 118 to 104, and this year has been 68 touchdowns thrown. So
Yeah,
just a lot less offense going on in the opening of the season, which I think is probably a trend we can kind of look at and make smart decisions in fantasy or in gambling type situations in the future.
yeah.
But yeah, on this game, nothing too particular now.
Yeah, no, offenses have definitely in the last couple of years definitely slowed down. But that being said, here in the next couple of weeks, we should start seeing everyone clicking as efficiently as we expected them to. The next game, Aaron Rodgers gets his first win in like 2 years, barely, as the Jets beat the Titans 24-17. I was kind of saying a little bit last week. The Titans are nobody believes in the Titans except for the Titans. This is the second straight game they've actually been holding themselves together, keeping themselves in it. And then Will Levis just does Will Levis things and ruins it. The picture of him just diving and throwing is the craziest picture you will ever see. And that was real life as he threw an interception practically to end the game. Aaron Rodgers did throw 2 touchdowns, 176 yards. Brees Hall did catch one of them, and then Braylon Allen was the other recipient of that catch. Will Levis did get a touchdown pass to Calvin Ridley. And Calvin Ridley also got a 10-yard run. So way to ball Calvin Ridley when nobody else on your team will.
Absolutely. Yeah, I also sorry to be a crap co-host on this one, but I do not have too many extra thoughts on this one.
Oh, you're fine. I get it. You work. I have not been able to catch a lot of the morning games. My wife and I, like the second we got home from church Sunday, we had we're married, but we had premarital counseling homework that we had to get done. So that was a lot of our focus, was getting that stuff done. But again, just watching where I could, because she doesn't like watching. Next thing we do have the 49ers lost to the Vikings. Sam Darnold.
Sam Gosh Darnold.
Not ready to say it yet. but 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was electric. More news coming out of San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey has been put on the injured reserve, so he is expected to miss at least the next 3 games. And Deebo Samuel also got injured. He is expected to miss a couple weeks from a very late injury from this game. So it was a very costly loss. But the Vikings, very surprising. They won 23-17. Taylor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely surprised, but that Sam Darnold 3-week MVP thing is real. We saw it in Carolina. It's kind of running back again. We'll see what happens. Get fantasy insurance on those big name players, guys. It's important. It's not actually. It's a crazy concept, but hey, it can pay off as much as playing fantasy can pay off in any given realm. That said, definitely a bummer that the Vikings are sitting at 2-0 in the NFC North here, while the Bears are not. Spoiler alert.
I'm not going to say it's a bummer. I just think it's surprising. That being said, though, they're the only team at 2-0 in the NFC North. So it's definitely a close race.
Yeah, definitely the most surprising thing. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure everyone in the world has them finishing last, but
yes,
we'll see.
All right. Next game, and the first game that we got correct in our predictions, the Chargers destroyed the Panthers 26-3. Another very dominant performance in the run game. J.K. Dobbins with 131 yards and a touchdown. Gus Edwards had 59 yards. Herbert had a couple of touchdown passes to Quentin Johnston. Who knew Quentin Johnston could catch a ball? I knew he could in college because he went to TCU, and I'm a Horned Frog fan. But he's done nothing in the NFL. But the Chargers beat the Panthers so bad that their head coach after the game said Bryce Young is our quarterback. And the very next day, it was announced that the Panthers are benching Bryce Young for
the Red Rocket,
the foreseeable future. Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, the TCU legend, the legend in himself. He has had a really weird career. Is coming off the bench, and he is going to be starting next week for the Panthers.
And never seen a man more destined to wear a Bengals jersey in my life. Let's see. The best comment I heard was that Gus Edwards could not walk upstairs in Baltimore, in San Diego, or in LA, as it were. He's doing flips. Yeah, definitely an interesting game. That Harbaugh guy knows how to coach some football.
Yes, you're not wrong there. And I think another really interesting thing, too, is the Ravens had both J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. J.K. obviously was having injury difficulties for most of his career, so never got to see that full potential. But the Ravens have always had the struggle with running the ball. Mm-hmm. And what is Gus Edwards doing in LA? He's running the ball. Kind of an interesting thing of just kind of that different scheme. A coach who is diehard on the run. I mean, he beat Penn State without throwing the ball. I think JJ McCarthy threw it like 3 times when they beat Penn State last year. That Harbaugh will live and die on the run. So very good pickup with the Chargers, getting both JK and Gus Edwards. And then JK actually seeing some of this potential that we've been wanting, I think is great for football because he hasn't run this good since he was in college, because he runs 5 feet and then tears his ACL or whatever. So hopefully he finishes this year. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Next game we have Toilet Bowl, but the records don't really show Toilet Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks travel to New England. Won 23-20 in overtime. One thing that I found really weird with this one is both teams were able to run very well last week, and they both struggled on the run. But one performance I do want to highlight is Geno Smith, 327 yards, 1 touchdown pass to DK Metcalf. DK getting 129 yards receiving. I guess they just didn't play defense in this game.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes offenses do show up, despite the popular opinion or the obvious or the opinion that is statistically accurate. Obviously,
Yes.
there some offenses can throw touchdowns and play football games. Seahawks I don't think are a toilet team as much as you do, obviously, and maybe that is my boy Jay rubbing off on me. Didn't mean it
It's
like that.
100% Jay running off on you.
Yep, classic. Yep. Seahawks, I think, are pretty decent. Patriots, I don't think are. But hey, they are definitely looking. They got more wins than I said they would so far.
I'm about to say you say the Seahawks are decent. They've played two horrible teams and won both of them barely. So take that what you will. Next game. I will say this is my biggest surprise of the week and just the NFL season in general. The New Orleans Saints. Oh my goodness. Traveled to Dallas and laid the smackdown on the Cowboys in great fashion, 44-19. Derek Carr lights out, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Dallas Cowboys defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. It's like they didn't show up. Biggest surprise of the week, in my opinion. One thing I forgot is the Saints hired Clint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator, and I guess he poured some magic miracle grow on Derek Carr's arm or something, because he is going crazy right now.
Yeah, someone drug test that man. Saints have not failed to score at all this year. 15 drives, 15 scores.
Possession.
That's pretty bananas. And yeah, like I said, I believe my words were Derek Carr is washed, and he probably. I'm actually going to take credit for the Saints doing as great as they are. I lit a fire under that man. He watches the show.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll accept that as a good answer. Then we're gonna move on to another NFC East showdown. A lot more competitive than I expected. The New York Giants Washington Commanders game. The Commanders won 21-18. 3 touchdowns scored, none of them by the Commanders. The Giants scored 3 touchdowns. On their first touchdown attempt, they missed the point after. And then their next 2, they went for 2 both times and failed. The Commanders, 7 field goals. But hey, they still won. Jaden Daniels threw for 226 yards and then ran for quite a bit. Brian Robinson was their top runner. He ran for 44 yards. So doing enough to get them in a position to kick the ball, apparently. But very, very surprised at how close this was, because none of us are high on the Giants. But also really funny just to look at that box score.
Kickers are people too, Papa. That's my comment. That's what this game is.
Don't worry. We will be talking about kickers, and especially Young Hoku, because screw that guy.
Love me some Young Wei.
All right. Our next game, the Buccaneers traveling to Detroit. Very close, fun game. Beating Detroit 20-16. Jared Goff threw for 307 yards. But but he threw two interceptions. No touchdowns for him. David Montgomery ran for one. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't get any touchdowns. And then Baker Mayfield, 185 yards, 117 of those was to Chris Godwin. And then Chris Godwin getting that touchdown also. Are the Buccaneers for real?
Yeah, I said like I like Baker a lot as the kind of that Kirk Cousins type guy. He's going to get those wins. He's a real solid fundamental quarterback. So yeah, I think they probably should win that division, and I don't know how much noise they'll actually make after that, but I think they have a pretty good lock. Unless the Saints are real, and then the Buccaneers might be in some trouble. Then the NFL might be in some trouble.
I'm not ready to say that the Buccaneers are the favorite to win the division because the Saints exist and the Falcons. I'm not ready to give up on the Falcons quite yet. But the Buccaneers, they've won what 4 straight, 3 straight NFC South titles. So they're definitely not gonna just lay down and let the Falcons or Saints take it. They're going to be competitive and a lot more competitive than most of us are expecting them to be. All right, next game.
Like other than the Panthers, which are the Panthers, the South is kind of cheeky.
Yes, yeah, you're not wrong there. Another very disappointing game that we have to talk about: the Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers. This was one of my bets that hit. I bet the under. I think the points under was like 30 something. The Packers won 16-10. Malik Willis threw for a touchdown, but Josh Jacobs couldn't be stopped. 151 yards rushing. Jonathan Taylor had a decent game at 103 yards. But the biggest thing with that, Anthony Richardson, 3 interceptions. He's either Superman like he was last week, or has a mouthful of kryptonite like this week. But if you are a Colts fan, you need to rethink your life. Matt, I'm looking at you. Rethink your life.
That guy. Yeah.
Taylor, what are your thoughts?
While I'm happy that the Colts, who ruined my life nearly 2 decades ago at this point, are in a bit of suffering, I'm much less happy that the Packers are happy. The Packers being happy is probably my least favorite thing in football, other than the Bears being sad. So it's definitely a bummer to me personally to see not one of those non-Jordan Love games get the W, because I need them to be taking L's with Jordan Love off the field.
Yes. But again, Jordan Love is expected to miss a couple weeks, so I doubt we'll see him next week. But we'll talk about that matchup here in a second. The next game, and another huge surprise. Why are you trying to defend the Colts, Matt? Just stop. There's no defense for that team. Another big surprise for the week: the Cardinals. They didn't beat the Rams. They whipped the Rams, 41-10. It was like the first 2 passes Kyler Murray threw, both to Marvin Harrison Jr., were touchdowns. Kyler with 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Harrison with 4 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then James Conner just ran like he was getting chased by someone. 122 yards and a touchdown. Talk about a team not being able to stop a nosebleed. The Rams couldn't do anything defensively to slow them down.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was definitely a rough one there. Remember when we said we don't know how the Cardinals are favored against the Rams? It turns out Vegas knows more about football than we do.
You're not. You say that they were a 1-point favorite, so it's still like they had home field advantage. So I wouldn't say Vegas knew a lot more than we did, That was very much a pick 'em. And obviously, Puka Nakua has been out, is going to be out until probably the middle of the year. And then Cooper Cup did also get injured in this game and is probably going to miss a couple of weeks with a very similar injury. Or I think it's his ankle that he hurt on this one. So I wouldn't say that Vegas knows more. Okay, no, yeah, you're right. Vegas knows a lot more than us. All right. Next game, the Steelers beat the Broncos 13-6 in a Russell Wilson revenge game where Russell Wilson did exactly what he did in his 2 years in Denver. Not a damn thing. And they still got the win.
Hey, Justin Fields hype. I'm all about it.
Yeah, 117 yards and 1 touchdown. And like I said last week, Bo Nix is trash. 2 interceptions last week, 2 interceptions this week too. Are we going to see a interception record this year? More than likely, the dude's trash.
Nah, I don't know. I don't even think he'll get paid in numbers.
We'll see. Averaging 2 a week is Peyton hopes he does. Yeah, this is exactly what he did at Auburn. He'd have like decent performances, but he couldn't throw it to his team. He'd have a week where he'd throw no interceptions, and then the very next week he'd throw like 8. Um, he was a lot more reliable in at Oregon, but at the same time he wasn't playing defenses in Oregon. Whereas he's played a decent defense in the Seahawks and then one of the best defenses in the league with the Steelers. Also, Steelers are 2-0. A lot of people thought that it'd be like week 7 or week 8 before they got a win. So Steelers, hey, they might win the AFC North. They're in the lead right now, so we'll have to see. And then probably the most exciting game of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs game-winning field goal right at the end to beat the Bengals 26-25. Joe Burrow, great performance, 258 yards. Patrick Mahomes is weird because he can be MVP or he can have a horrible game like he had this past week. 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, but still 2 interceptions. That defense definitely is the main reason why the Chiefs were able to stay close in it and get the win. But other news in Kansas City, Pacheco is injured. Again, likely to miss a couple of weeks. So we'll probably see here in a little bit how that affects the Chiefs going forward. But Tato, what are your thoughts on the Bengals Chiefs?
Yeah, those guys just always have slobber knockers of games. It's crazy. You gotta love to see that type of rivalry between two young, great quarterbacks. The Bengals are definitely interesting. The Chiefs, we did pick them. They did get it done there, but that, like you said, sometimes Patrick Mahomes plays terrible. But that stat line would have won certain teams on Sunday night the game that they lost.
Yeah.
As opposed to the stat line that quarterback did put up. The quarterback who is allegedly Patrick Mahomes-esque, and I certainly hope that plays out. So yeah, Pat Mahomes' garbage stat lines are still just good.
I was about to say he threw for like 160 yards, which was more than a lot of other quarterbacks. 2 touchdowns, a lot more than most other quarterbacks.
Yep. So Pat Mahomes on an off day is still just a top 10 quarterback all day. Yep.
Yeah. But it was also really good to see that the Bengals can actually play a football game, unlike week 1. Just unfortunately not able to get the win. Maybe they get it this week. We'll have to see. Next, we're going to go into the Sunday night game.
You're not wrong.
The Bears traveling to Houston. Again, a lot closer than I was expecting. The Texans were able to get the win 19-13. Caleb Williams, 174 yards and 2 interceptions. See, again, if he was able to get one touchdown, it would have
Exactly.
been a different game. CJ Stroud, 260 yards and a touchdown. But again, that both defenses are scary defenses. And that was definitely shown in the fact of the Texans having 16 points at the end of the first half, only able to get a field goal afterwards. The Bears defense is scary. And a lot of reports saying that they are in conversations with the Jets to pick up Hassan Reddick. If that happens and they sign him to a long-term contract, watch out.
I've been hearing that one for since kind of preseason times. Obviously the Hassan Reddick thing. I don't think it's gonna go down just from that Bears feeling of it all. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I'm pretty 50-50. I'm not beating the door down for it. I wouldn't be pissed if it happened either. I would probably I think I would be happy if it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. I would be pro it. So if we're spinning the old dial slightly towards Brian Newsbaum.
Yes.
There it is. But yeah, this game was rough. The Bears' offensive line struggles that have just been there my entire life. Since we've had guys since an Olin Kreutz at center type, I can't think of a great lineman the Bears have had since that cat. I might be missing someone, but I might not be, which is a sad thing. Darnell Wright, couple rookie mistakes. He doesn't look as much better. He hasn't regressed or anything, but I would have hoped he would look better. He had some good plays against Will Anderson. He lit Will Anderson up in college once upon a time. I'm not smart enough to actually reference what schools they both went to, Tennessee or something like that.
Pretty sure Will Anderson went to Bama.
Okay, yeah, there it is. So I think Tennessee and Bama had an important football game in which Darnell was able to handle Will. So he kind of continued that a little bit, but there were also more than enough times that Will Anderson was coming in at Caleb. But yeah, it was a painful one. I hope the Bears can shore up that offensive line. That would be the sign. That would be the trade / signing I would want to see if they can somehow pick an offensive lineman up, because this is just not going good. Having 5 not good offensive linemen is going to I'm not panicking for Caleb or anything like that, but I'm panicking for Caleb's Bears career.
What is the likelihood that the Canadian Eagle gets elevated to the actual roster and starts for them?
You know what? I'll take it at this point. Yeah, I think we need Little Giants, kind of bad news Bears. We need a ragtag bunch to protect Caleb.
Yeah.
Give me a sumo wrestler. Give me a couple of guards from a nightclub. Give me, yeah.
All right, and then our final game. Tatum, I'm going to let you start off with your thoughts on this one, and then I will end the conversation about this one. This was the actual home opener for the Eagles. The Falcons came to town in a very close game, very interesting end fourth quarter. The Falcons able to get the comeback win 22-21.
Yep, that is how that game went. I did not get to see it due to, again, I've actually had a lot going on in the YouTube sphere, even though I'm normally not that guy that's around for everything. Just kind of a lot of shows have bunched up coincidentally on me. So I did not get to catch that game. I'm sorry for your loss, as I am as sorry for your loss as you are for mine, I'm sure. Definitely a bummer, as we both got the pick wrong on this one.
Yes.
Definitely did not see this one coming, but hey, Bijan Robinson, right? I don't know.
Yes. I do find it hysterical that our defense played very well in week one, and didn't play as well in week two. Our first sack came in the fourth quarter. What are we doing, guys? You got to you got to rush them a
That
little more
was
than
Zach
that.
Bond, man.
I know. Let me preface this by saying I was unable to watch the game until the middle of the third quarter. So I heard the defense played very well in the first half and partially of the third quarter. I don't know how accurate that is because, again, I did not get to watch it. But the fact that we were winning and we didn't let them score a touchdown, I have to say, is pretty accurate. I don't know what's going on with our defensive line though, because we've generally been decent at stopping the run, and we couldn't stop the run. And then the final drive, it's like we've been rushing periodically throughout the game, and we don't rush at all. It's like Kirk Cousins was struggling when we rushed him, but
So you were illustrating that they didn't start losing until you started watching?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I also have a pair of socks that every time I wear, they lose. So I don't really wear those socks anymore. I didn't wear them last night either. But one thing I will say is one thing I've noticed with these last 2 weeks, and really with the Eagles team last year too, is we need to capitalize on our drives. It's like we have really good drives, and we get into the red zone, and then we just stop. So come on, guys, let's finish. Penalties were killing us, so we just need to be a little better. And I will defend that third down pass because if Saquon catches that, it's a touchdown. Um, it just slipped through his hands. It happens. Again, you can't let Kirk Cousins go 70 yards in 40 seconds. It just doesn't happen. But I do also need to praise the Falcons secondary, especially Jesse Bates at that safety position. He did phenomenal. There was one stop a deflection he had. Devontae Smith had it in the end zone. He was able to knock it out. That was a game-winning play right there. And then also getting that interception at the very end of the game to seal the win. My father-in-law is a big Falcons fan, and both him and I have been talking that this defense is actually a very underrated defense. And the first person to look at as far as it's being underrated is Jesse Bates. He's one of the best safeties in the game, but nobody's talking about him because he's a Falcon. We're going to be talking about him a little bit more tonight. But it was a fun game. I'm not as upset as most people are on that loss. Again, we should have won. We had the win. But it does happen. Hey, you live and you learn. And let's just win next week. So Tato, it's that time. We both finished at 7-9 last week. So for the season, I am 20 wins, 12 losses. You're at 18 wins and 14 losses. So I still have a 2-game advantage over you. But let's see how today goes. Starting off with our Thursday night game, the Patriots are traveling to New Jersey to take on the Jets. I think are you all right with doing exactly what we did last week, where
yes, I am.
we go flip flop on them? So I'll go ahead and start this one off. I do have the Jets winning this game. Probably going to be a slobber knocker like most Thursday night games are. Probably a little closer than most people are expecting, because that's just the way Aaron Rodgers has been playing. But again, the dude hasn't played in like 2 years, so he's still rusty. I think this is where we start seeing some of that Aaron Rodgers of old. He starts getting some pretty crazy plays out there, but not enough to blow out the Patriots, but just enough to get the win. So I do have the Jets.
Yeah, I still got the Jets here. The Patriots did get a nice W. We didn't expect them to get, but I think, there's Jets here. The preseason logic holds out, and I haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise quite yet.
All right. So next we have starting with our Sunday morning games. And why this is a Sunday morning game, I do not know. But the Eagles are traveling to New Orleans and taking on the Saints. Tato, who do you have in this one?
Well, it's because we didn't expect to be the Saints to be the Saints. That's why it's a noon game, and we don't have flex scheduling in week 3. The fact that the Eagles are only -3 is bananas. I do have the Eagles getting it done here, but we'll see, man. That would not be the time I want to play the Saints.
So this is really interesting because we went the exact same last week, and in game number 2, we are different. That's right. I am not picking the Eagles to win this game. I definitely think they're going to be angry, but this is a short week. They just played last night. So they're not going to be as fresh as the Saints are. I definitely think we'll see some improvements, but this Saints team is just so weird. And the fact that they can both throw it and run it, and we've been kind of struggling on if we can stop the run, we struggle with stopping the throw. We stop the throw, we struggle with stopping the run. So I think this is gonna be a very fun game to watch, but I'm giving my edge to the Saints.
That sounds like Taysom Hill is gonna carve you up that way.
Yeah. All right. Next we have the Chargers traveling again to Pittsburgh, taking on the Steelers. I said last week that I feel like most of the Chargers wins are going to be very close wins, run it out, just not make mistakes. And I think that's exactly what this game's going to be. These are two very good defenses. Again, like I said, the Steelers is one of the best defenses out there. The Chargers, I think, is a very underrated defense as well. But I do think the Chargers, again, do enough, don't make as many mistakes as the Steelers do, and get the advantage. But it's going to be close. I have the Chargers winning.
Yep, I'll take the Chargers here as well. I think that, like I said, that Harbaugh guy knows how to coach football. I think he'll keep it rolling.
All right, next we have the Battle of the Unbeatens. Again, last one was the same thing. The Texans are traveling to Minnesota and taking on the Vikings.
Yeah, with the way the Texans got after Caleb, and I don't think like the Vikings O-line is definitely a little steadier than the Bears O-line, but Sam Darnold's slightly less mobile than Caleb Williams, so I think Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson will be seeing a lot of him in the backfield. Texans.
Yep. This is a Danielle Hunter return game because he was with the Vikings forever. But yeah, I have the Texans winning this one as well. I like the 49ers defense, but I do think that this is going to be the toughest defense that the Vikings have played so far. They've only played 2 defenses, so it's not a high bar. But I do think all this magic we've seen of Sam Darnold, not necessarily going to be done after this week, but definitely not going to be as amazing as he has been. Texans get the win here. Next, we have the Broncos traveling to Tampa Bay and taking on the Buccaneers. Everyone say it with me. Bo Nix is trash. Buccaneers win easily.
I will echo your sentiments. Buccaneers get this W. Baker just way too steady at this point.
I just need to make it a banner. Like, Bo Nix is trash. And just throw it up anytime that the Broncos play. Next, we have the Packers at the Titans. Again, Jordan Love is probably going to miss this game. But Tato, it is your turn on the prediction wheel. Not really wheel, but...
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one. I am going to kind of second guessing myself here. I'm going to give the Titans a cheeky W here. Maybe this is more like maybe my heart is saying like trying to will the Packers into a loss with this one. But I'll give it a cheeky Titans pick.
All right, cheeky Titans pick, which means the Titans lose by 34. This is a Malik Willis revenge game. This Packers or the Titans team that never really believed in him, never gave him a chance, gave him one game, and then drafted another quarterback the next year to start over, or not really start, but to play over him. I do think that Malik Willis is going to have a little bit of that chip on his shoulder. But Josh Jacobs just runs and runs and runs, a la Forrest Gump. I do think Titans make it somewhat close, but Will Levis does Will Levis things, and throws the game for him. So we are different again because I have it going to the Packers. Our next game, we have the Giants traveling to Cleveland and taking on the Browns. We don't like the Browns, but we don't like the Giants even more. I don't see the Giants doing anything. They were able to score 3 touchdowns somehow last week. That's 4 more than they're going to score this week. I have the Browns winning.
Yep, Myles Garrett, Daniel Jones, a lot of time on the grass. Browns.
All right, and then it works out that you're talking about this one. The Bears are traveling to Indianapolis and taking on the Colts.
I am going to take my Bears here. The Colts, remind me what happened with the Colts last week again? They lost to
they lost to the Packers.
Jordan Loveless Packers.
Yeah.
So if they can lose to the Jordan Loveless Packers, then Caleb can get a bounce back game here. I will take my Bears.
So Matt in the comments saying the Colts defensive line does enough to get the win.
That's not unreasonable. I will say that. Like
Matt, somebody has to be with the Colts because it's not going to be me either. I do think that this defense does force Anthony Richardson to make some extra mistakes, pretty much like what he did last week. I'm not going to say he's going to throw for 4 interceptions, but he's definitely going to throw a couple costly ones. And then Caleb Williams gets his first throwing touchdown.
Yay!
I'm going to call it as the Bears win. Next, we have Andy Dalton. This is the first 4:00 game, too. So it's like, here you go, America. Andy Dalton versus Gardner Minshew. The current backup Jesus versus the old backup Jesus. I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. I love Andy Dalton, but I don't think that the Panthers are good enough to do anything, regardless of who's that quarterback. And the Raiders they're the Raiders. Like you can never bet on them because they're so unpredictable. I think the Raiders, just a little bit of moxie from this last win, do come out and just kind of punch the Panthers right in the mouth. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'll take Minshew Mania to keep rolling. The Panthers might be the team that just does not get picked to win a single game in this. Like they're the pits. Like they're the bottom of the barrel, I think.
So I think they're going to win one game this year. I do think so.
I think they'll win one, but I don't think I'm going to pick it when they do.
I think I'm going to pick them to win one game. Matt's saying Raiders get the win and the Panthers get regulated to the XFL. Matt, that game is going to be the Germany game where the loser gets regulated to the XFL. Next, we have the Dolphins taking on the Seahawks.
Dolphins, Seahawks, with no. Okay, so this is a bummer because this is not going to be the Hawks Tua game that we wanted it to be.
Yes.
So, like, let's all just have a moment of silence for that. And without Tua, I am picking the Seahawks.
So, I don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. They did pick up Tyler Huntley, who is a decent quarterback. He was able to get a couple wins for the Ravens to get him into the playoffs a couple years ago. Um, Definitely a very serviceable backup. Skylar Thompson again can do just enough. But when you're throwing to the best wide receiver duos in the NFL, I mean, you could have like a 4-year-old child throw to them, and they'd be dynamic. But Raheem Mostert should be coming back. Devon Achan should be at 100% after his ankle injury that he was fighting in practice. And I think this run game for the Dolphins is going to be too much for the Seahawks. Regardless of who's at quarterback, you just have to hand the ball off. And I do think that is going to build into a somewhat formidable passing game, which gets the Dolphins the win. All right, next we have the 4:30 game. The Ravens are traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. These are two teams that are very pissed off. Because both were expecting to win last week, neither of them getting the dub. But I will say Lamar Jackson is the first MVP in like over 20 years to start off 0-2. Lamar Jackson is a different animal when he plays the NFC teams. They're not used to him, and so I think the Ravens get the win against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are 0-2 at home this year. It's unheard of, Tato.
Yeah, this is definitely bananas because this is two scenarios, like both of which is extraordinarily unlikely. Like to say that both the Cowboys losing 2 in a row at home would be wild, but the Ravens starting 0-3 would also be just nuts. One of those things has to happen. I have the Ravens here. I think Lamar starting 0-3 is the slightly more bananas thing. So
I definitely see that too. It's like one of these has to happen. It's just which one happens, and I don't see either of them happening. But one of them has to happen. So next we have the Lions are traveling to Arizona and taking on the Cardinals. This is you go first on this one.
yeah, I'll take the Lions here to get the bounce back. And the Cardinals, like, kind of maybe a little bit of a hangover after after the domination they displayed. Maybe Kyler, apparently the Call of Duty servers were down. I heard. So we'll see if the old Xbox was back on for Kyler.
Yeah. So you have the Lions winning.
Yep.
I totally heard you and then didn't actually hear what you said. I am in the same boat. I do think that the Lions do just enough. Um, I think that the Lions have a better run game than the Rams do. And so I think that's one thing that really took the Rams out pretty early was they just got behind because they couldn't run it. And so they had to throw it, and they weren't really able to throw it. So I just think the Lions are a more well-rounded team. And regardless of what Kyler we get, if it's the quoted Kyler after week 1, where it's not his job to find an open receiver, talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., or if we get this electric Kyler Murray, regardless of which one we get, I do think the Lions are just a better team, and I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. Our final afternoon or evening game, we have the 49ers going to LA, but it's really a home game for both teams. The 49ers at the Rams. Both these teams are battling pretty bad injuries. Like we said before, Christian McCaffrey's on injured reserve. We're not going to see him for a while. Debo Samuel just got hurt. The Rams having the same exact issues. Puka's been out for a while. Cooper Kupp's hurt. And because of that, I don't think the Rams have enough offensive weapons to replace those injuries. Whereas the 49ers, Mason's been great. They have Ayuk. They have a couple other receivers. They have Kittle that they can throw to. I think the 49ers get the win on this one just simply because of better depth.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. And Sean McVay is also a fantastic coach, but I will say once again that Harbaugh guy is pretty good at football. Wait, never mind. I was thinking of the Harbaugh Bowl from 20 years ago. I got a concussion.
Yeah.
Any which way.
The 49ers don't have a Harbaugh. What do you do? What are you talking about?
I'm not even. I'm not high enough. That's what the problem is. Any which way. 49ers. We can move on.
All right. So next we have the night games. One Sunday night game. The Chiefs are going to Atlanta and taking on the Falcons. Tato, you remember how I was crazy at the beginning of this year? And I said the Chiefs do not make these playoffs this year.
I did. I remember.
This is where we see the start of the demise. I'm taking your thunder. You're supposed to go first here, but I'm going to go first because I'm crazy like this. I think this is where the Chiefs get their first loss. I'm giving it to the Falcons, regardless of what time this game is played. Kirk Cousins has been didn't have a great start to the season. Played a lot better last night, and I think we are seeing him get into a rhythm again. This run game is great with Bijan Robinson, and then Algier being able to pick up whenever Bijan's out. I think they're starting to click. And again, this secondary is not to be slept on. And I think that they're going to be able to make Patrick Mahomes just make a couple bad mistakes that do cost him. I have the Falcons winning.
I love that pick from you. I will be taking the Chiefs here. Fat mustache Harbaugh is a great football coach. Yeah, no. I think the Chiefs will continue to be good at football and continue to get the 13, 14 wins that I think they will. And this will be one of them, Chiefs.
They're going to be lucky to get 10. All right. And then Monday night, we have two Monday night games. The first one, we have the Jaguars taking on the Bills. Tato, I'm going to quit stealing your thunder. Who do you have on this one?
I'm going to go Bills here. They have definitely proven enough for me to stop trashing on them. So we'll go Bills. And this will probably be the game that they lose to start proving me right now that I picked them.
Yeah. I don't know Evan Ingram's status yet. Obviously, it's Tuesday. We're not going to find out until Sunday what his status is. But regardless, I do still like the Bills in this game. Regardless of who Josh Allen's throwing it to. Jared Cook's just a good running back too. And this is something that the Bills have been struggling with, is having a good run game. And when they were playing great last year, it was because they were letting Cook cook. It's a weird thing to say, but they were letting Cook cook. And so I think if they just continue doing this, they're going to be tough to beat this year. So I also have the Bills winning this game. And then our second Monday night game, because, apparently we have two Monday night games. The Commanders are traveling to Cincinnati, taking on the Bengals. I'm going to go and start with this one. The Bengals should have gotten the dub this last week. They get their first dub this week. They beat the Commanders, I think, pretty handily. We're going to see Jaden Daniels perform. But again, I just think that team's not as good as what a lot of people were thinking. People thought that they would make the playoffs this year. some people thought that they were going to win the division this year, and that team's just not good. So I do have the Bengals getting the win on this one.
Yeah, I definitely didn't hear too many takes picking not the Eagles or the Cowboys, but the Bengals. I also have the Bengals here. I think Joe. I think Joe Burrow just beats the rookie in the chess match, as it were. Chicken Joe Burrow.
There we go. All right, so there we go. Hey, we didn't pick the exact same on this one, so there's going to be some differences. We picked enough so there might be a lead change at the end of this week. But let's be honest, I am the greatest. There will be no differences. I will just have, or there'll be no lead change. I will just have a better lead going into week number 4. But that has been our weekly episode of TMG Takes the Field, talking a little bit about college and a lot about the NFL. Tato has some exciting news about Lights Out Trivia. Watch the match that just happened to hear more about that. But for everyone in TMG, whether it's trivia, whether it's entertainment, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and make smart choices. Or don't. I really don't care. I'm not your dad. But I could be your papa.